Gentlemen, let me start with something that may shock you. Every single morning across America, millions of men over 60 pour themselves a cup of coffee, sip it slowly, and unknowingly miss one of the simplest opportunities to help bring their manhood back to life. Yes, I'm talking about stronger, longer-lasting erections, even if you are already in your 70s or 80s. But before we go any further, let me ask you something from the heart. Do you remember the days when your body felt strong without effort? When waking up in the morning meant feeling ready for the day, ready for life, and ready for the woman you loved? For many men, those memories feel both warm and painful at the same time. Because somewhere along the road, things began to change. The body became slower, energy faded, and moments of intimacy that once felt natural began to feel uncertain. Many men quietly believe this is simply the price of getting older. They blame age, stress, or bad luck. But the truth is often much simpler and far more hopeful. To understand how something as ordinary as your morning coffee might help restore strength again, we first need to understand why erections begin to fade after 60. 1. Why erections quietly fade after 60. Before we talk about what to add to your coffee, we need to understand something many men never hear clearly. When erections begin to weaken after 60, it is rarely because a man has lost his desire. Most men still feel the same love for their partner, the same wish to hold her close, the same quiet hope that their body will respond the way it once did. What changes is not the heart, but the body's ability to send strong blood flow where it needs to go. Think back for a moment to your younger years. Your body worked almost without effort. A touch, a smile, a moment of closeness, and everything responded naturally. But as the years pass, the small blood paths that carry life through the body slowly become tighter and less flexible. When that happens, the body cannot move blood as easily as it once did. And because the blood paths in that part of the body are very small, they are often the first place where men notice a change. I remember a man in his late 60s who once sat quietly in a chair across from me. After a long pause, he said, "Doctor, it's not just about the bedroom anymore. I just don't feel like the man I used to be." There was no anger in his voice, only a quiet sadness that many men carry but rarely speak about. But here is the part that often brings relief when men hear it. These changes do not mean the story is over. The body still has a remarkable ability to respond when it receives the right support. And sometimes the smallest daily habits can begin turning things in the right direction again. Which brings us back to that simple cup of coffee waiting on the kitchen counter each morning. Because once you understand what is happening inside the body, it becomes much easier to see how the right ingredients can begin helping those blood paths open and flow more freely again. 2. Cinnamon, the quiet protector of your blood flow. Now that we understand why erections slowly fade with age, let's return to that simple cup of coffee waiting on your kitchen counter each morning. What many men don't realize is that a small change to that daily habit can quietly begin helping the body work better again. And the first ingredient is something most people already have in their kitchen cabinet: cinnamon. For many of us, cinnamon brings back warm memories. The smell of it drifting from the kitchen during the holidays, sprinkled over oatmeal, or mixed into a homemade dessert. It feels simple and familiar, but behind that warm scent is something surprisingly helpful for the aging body. As men grow older, one hidden problem that slowly damages the body is unstable sugar levels in the blood. When those levels rise and fall too often, the tiny blood paths throughout the body begin to suffer. The smallest ones are often affected first, and those happen to be the same delicate paths that allow a strong erection to happen. When they become tired and narrow, the body struggles to move enough blood where it needs to go. Cinnamon helps calm that problem. It supports steadier sugar levels in the body and encourages those small blood paths to relax and open more easily. Over time, this can allow blood to travel more smoothly again. I remember one man in his early 70s who began adding a small pinch of cinnamon to his morning coffee after hearing about this habit from a friend. A few weeks later, he told me something simple but meaningful. He said his mornings felt steadier. His energy lasted longer, and little by little, his confidence in the bedroom began to return. The beautiful part is how easy it is. Just a small quarter teaspoon stirred into warm coffee each morning is enough to begin. No complicated routine, no expensive treatment, just a gentle daily habit that works quietly in the background. But cinnamon is only the beginning, because there is another ingredient that can help the body open those blood paths even more, allowing circulation to move with greater strength and ease. 3. Cocoa, the ingredient that helps blood move freely again. Now, as helpful as cinnamon can be, it is only the first step, because protecting the small blood paths is important, but there is something even more powerful, helping those paths open wide so blood can move freely again. And surprisingly, the next ingredient that may help with this is something many men already know and enjoy: cocoa. When most people hear the word cocoa, they think about sweet chocolate bars or warm desserts from childhood. But the cocoa we are talking about here is the pure, unsweetened kind, dark and rich, the way it was enjoyed long before sugar was added to everything. Inside this simple powder are natural plant compounds that help the body relax and open its blood paths. When those paths open, blood moves more smoothly through the body. For a man, that change can make a real difference, because strong circulation is the very thing that allows the body to respond naturally during moments of closeness. I remember a gentleman in his early 70s who once told me he had nearly stopped hoping things would improve. He felt tired, frustrated, and embarrassed to even talk about the subject. After a quiet conversation, he decided to try something simple: adding a small spoon of pure cocoa powder to his morning coffee. A few weeks later, he came back smiling in a way I had not seen before. He said, "Doctor, something feels different. My energy is better, and things are starting to respond again." What makes cocoa even more special is that it does not only help the body. Many men notice it lifts their mood as well. And when a man feels calmer, more relaxed, and more hopeful, the body often follows that feeling. Just one small teaspoon stirred into coffee can begin this process. The taste becomes deeper and richer, almost like a simple homemade mocha. But circulation alone is not the whole story. Because for many men over 60, there is another quiet change happening inside the body, one that affects desire, energy, and the feeling of being alive again. That is where the next ingredient begins to play its role. 4. Maca, the root that gently awakens a man's inner fire. Now, while better circulation can help the body respond again, many men over 60 quietly notice another change that feels even more confusing. It is not only the body that slows down. The spark of desire, the inner drive that once came naturally, can begin to fade as well. A man may still love his partner deeply, still enjoy her presence, but the feeling of energy and passion that once came so easily may seem distant. This is where the next ingredient becomes important: a humble root known as maca. High in the mountains of Peru, farmers have grown maca for hundreds of years. In those cold and windy places where little else survives, this small root has long been valued for helping people maintain strength, endurance, and vitality. Unlike quick fixes that push the body for a short time, maca works in a gentler way. It helps the body regain its natural rhythm, supporting energy, mood, and the quiet return of desire. I remember a retired school teacher who came to speak with me in his early 70s. He told me that he no longer felt the excitement he once had when he held his wife's hand. There was love between them, but something inside him felt dim, like a lamp slowly losing its light. After learning about maca, he decided to try adding a small spoon of the powder into his morning coffee several times each week. A few weeks later, he returned with a soft smile. He said the change was not sudden, but steady. His energy felt stronger, his mind clearer, and the warmth he once felt toward his wife was quietly returning. That is the beauty of maca. It does not force the body. It simply reminds the body of what it once knew how to do. Yet even with better energy and returning desire, the body still needs the right fuel to keep that strength alive. And that brings us to the next ingredient, one that many people once feared but now understand in a completely different way. 5. Coconut oil, the simple fuel the aging body still needs. Now, as the body slowly begins to regain its natural rhythm, There is another piece of the puzzle many men overlook. Energy and desire do not return by circulation alone. The body also needs the right kind of fuel to keep its strength alive. And strangely enough, one of the foods men were once told to avoid may actually help in this area. That food is coconut oil. For many years, people believed all fats were harmful. Men were told to remove oils and rich foods from their diets in the hope of staying healthy. But over time, we began to understand something important. The body cannot maintain strength without healthy fats. These fats help the body create the natural substances that support energy, mood, and male vitality. Coconut oil contains a special kind of fat that the body can turn into quick and steady energy. Instead of weighing the body down, it often helps men feel more balanced throughout the morning. When added to coffee, it also softens the effect of caffeine, allowing the energy from coffee to last longer instead of rising quickly and then fading away. I remember a man in his late 60s who worked part-time after retirement. He told me he loved his morning coffee but often felt tired again before noon. After learning about this habit, he began blending a small spoon of coconut oil into his coffee each morning. A few weeks later, he said something that stayed with me. He said the difference was not dramatic overnight, but his mornings felt steadier, his body felt stronger, and the closeness he shared with his wife no longer felt like a struggle. That is the quiet power of small daily habits. A single spoon stirred into a warm cup can slowly give the body the fuel it needs. And yet, even when the body has better energy and support, there is still one final piece that helps everything work together. Because strong circulation remains the foundation of male vitality, and the next ingredient helps that circulation move with warmth and strength throughout the entire body. 6. Ginger, the warm spark that helps blood move again. Now, even when the body begins receiving better fuel and support, one thing still matters more than anything else for a man's vitality. Blood must move freely. Without strong circulation, the body simply cannot respond the way it once did. And this is where the final ingredient quietly completes the picture. That ingredient is ginger. Most people know ginger as something you drink when you feel under the weather, or something added to a warm meal for flavor. It has been part of home kitchens for generations, but beyond its taste, ginger carries a special kind of warmth that the body can feel almost immediately. When ginger enters the body, it encourages blood to move more freely through the small paths that carry life through every organ and muscle. Many men notice this warmth spreading gently through their chest, their hands, even their feet. That warmth is not just a feeling, it is the body allowing blood to travel more easily again. I remember a quiet man in his mid-60s who once told me that his hands and feet always felt cold. He also shared, with some hesitation, that intimacy had become more difficult over the past few years. After learning about this simple habit, he began adding a small pinch of ground ginger into his morning coffee. Several weeks later, he came back and said something that made me smile. He said he felt warmer, stronger, and more awake in the mornings, and that the closeness between him and his wife had begun to feel natural again. That is the gentle strength of ginger. It helps wake the body without forcing it. Just a small quarter teaspoon stirred into coffee is enough to begin. When combined with cinnamon, cocoa, maca, and coconut oil, the body receives support for circulation, energy, and vitality all at once. And once these simple ingredients begin working together, the next question naturally becomes very simple. How do you turn all of this into a daily habit without making your mornings complicated? 7. Turning your morning coffee into a simple daily ritual. Now that we have talked about each of these ingredients, many men begin to wonder if this will turn their morning into something complicated. The truth is the opposite. The real strength of this approach is its simplicity. It is not about changing your entire life overnight. It is about taking something you already do every morning and allowing it to quietly work in your favor. Think about the moment when you first wake up. The house is still quiet. Light slowly fills the kitchen. The smell of fresh coffee begins to rise from the cup in your hands. That moment has always been a simple habit, but it can also become a small act of care for your body. You do not need to use every ingredient at once. In fact, starting slowly is often the best path. Many men begin with just a small pinch of cinnamon stirred into their coffee. After a week or two, they add a spoon of cocoa. Later, perhaps a little maca, or a small amount of ginger joins the routine. Some mornings might include coconut oil for steady energy. Other mornings may keep things simple. I once spoke with a man in his early 70s who followed this slow approach. At first, he only added cinnamon to his coffee. A few weeks later, he included cocoa. Over time, he built a small routine that felt natural to him. When he returned to see me after 2 months, he did not talk about dramatic changes. Instead, he spoke about something deeper. His mornings felt steadier. His energy lasted longer, and the quiet closeness between him and his wife had begun to feel alive again. That is the beauty of small daily choices. They rarely change life in a single moment, but over weeks and months, they can gently guide the body back toward strength. And when a man begins to feel that strength returning, something even more meaningful often returns with it: confidence, purpose, and the feeling that life still holds many good years ahead. Which brings us to the most important truth of all. 8. Conclusion. Small choices today, stronger years ahead. As we reach the end of this conversation, it becomes clear that the message is not simply about coffee or a few ingredients in the kitchen. The deeper truth is about something every man eventually faces as the years move forward. The body that once felt strong and dependable becomes more delicate with time. Circulation slows, energy changes, and many functions that once happened naturally begin to require greater care and attention. For many men, these changes are first noticed in quiet moments of intimacy. What once felt effortless may suddenly feel uncertain. Yet this is not a sign that life is ending or that strength has disappeared forever. More often, it is the body's gentle signal that it now needs better support, wiser habits, and more thoughtful daily choices. The simple ingredients we discussed, cinnamon, cocoa, maca, coconut oil, and ginger, are not miracles on their own. Their real value lies in reminding us that small daily actions can influence the body in powerful ways. A cup of coffee each morning can become more than a routine. It can become a quiet promise to care for the body that has carried you through many decades of life. If you begin paying attention to these small choices now, the next 1 to 5 years can look very different. Energy can feel steadier. Circulation can remain stronger. Confidence and closeness with your partner can continue instead of slowly fading away. The goal is not to chase youth, but to protect vitality so that the years ahead remain meaningful and active. Aging is natural, but neglect is not. When we understand our bodies and adjust our habits with patience, we give ourselves the chance to live the coming years with dignity, warmth, and renewed strength. And sometimes, that journey toward better health truly does begin with something as simple as the cup in your hands each morning.